Hello, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Ben McQueen. He is a visionary entrepreneur and community advocate dedicated to helping individuals discover freedom from zero proof beverages and inclusive social spaces. So, as the founder and operator of Karuna Kava Bar and Karuna Kava Beverage Company, Ben has built a thriving hub for connection and recovery, promoting a lifestyle centered around wellness, harm reduction, and constructive communities. I love the aspect of community. To me, that's everything. I live for being around people in a meaningful way. So that's my passion, really. So I love that aspect, and I have way too many questions here. So let me start with this one here, the initial one. So if you were to introduce yourself, which it is what I would love for you to do, who is Ben, and how did you discover Kava?
That's a great question. Um, so my name is Ben McQueen. Uh, really, when you ask somebody who is Ben, Ben
Yeah.
is a name. Really, when it comes down to mindfulness practices, you try to look
Mhm.
at the self, and I think the person I used to be was a very bad drinker who made a lot of very irresponsible decisions. I was a very unhappy person, and I was introduced to kava when I was living in a halfway house. I had been homeless for a very short period of time in Colorado, got into this halfway house, and some of these guys were drinking kava. And I started to learn a little bit about what kava was, about this 3,000-year-old tradition
Mhm.
of drinking a strong beverage produced from the roots of the kava plant, Piper methysticum, because of the properties found within the roots of the kava plant. The roots of the kava plant are rich in kava lactones like cavein, yangonin, desmethoxyangonin, dihydrocavein. These compounds are anxiolytics. They're stress relieving compounds. They're mood boosters. They make you feel kind of euphoric and cheerful and chatty, very socially
Yeah.
comfortable. And they're also muscle relaxants. So when you drink kava, you feel very physically relaxed, very tension free.
Mhm.
Now, I would also like to add that I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a friend, but mostly what I do in my professional life is I help other people. Um, some people who have had issues with alcohol, like myself, other people who just want a natural way to relax, just want to socialize, just want to have fun.
Right.
I try to take the knowledge I've gained about this amazing practice and transfer it on to them so that they can benefit, maybe even in just a
Yeah.
small way that I benefited, because I would say kava saved my life.
Right.
So I guess that's who I am.
Wow. Yeah. The spirit of kava. I love that. And I have to say it that way because I know all living beings, they almost in a way have a soul. Like they have this, it's almost like this purpose to be here, like all humans and everything that in existence. So it's fascinating to see the purpose of each plant and everything else. It's just beautiful to witness. Uh, Thank you for sharing that. I read your story, and I'm familiar with what you went through somewhat. Um, the question that comes to mind is, I mean, I have too many, but why do you feel we become addicted to certain things and we become this version of ourselves that's not, let's say, in harmony with life itself?
That's a really great question. I think some people, there's this notion of disease as an addiction, the addiction as like the disease of addiction. It's kind of a model of viewing
Yeah.
it. I used to really think it was just a physical disease that I
Yeah.
had.
Right.
I have kind of come away from that understanding
Yeah.
because I feel like at times I was using the fact that I had a disease as an excuse for my behavior.
Yeah.
I think the true reason why we become addicted to things is because we either feel inadequate or we
Mm,
have missed something in our life, some kind of nourishing moment, some kind of love,
mm,
or we
yeah.
feel pain. And for some reason, whether it's alcohol or opiates or whatever drug it is that you're addicted to, or shopping or eating
Mm,
or whatever it is, sex,
yeah. Yeah.
something about your drug of choice momentarily relieves that pain, that
Mm,
trauma, that suffering,
right.
and that feeling is pleasurable. And a
Yeah.
lot of stuff in our society is inherently addictive. I mean, we came
Yeah.
from groups of people that were hunting and gathering, and within a very short period of time, we have a lot of time on our hands. We have a lot of access to resources.
Yeah.
Most of us, luckily, in the United States, in to a great privilege, we're not fighting for our lives daily to eat and
Right.
drink, and so,
Right.
but also we are a traumatized community. There's a lot
Mm,
of pain that I think we feel in modern society,
yeah.
and the way that people deal with that sometimes is with drinking alcohol or taking drugs. And so that just is going to form habit, because at the base, you're getting it at the base level, scientific level, you're getting a hit of dopamine. Your brain, you're doing something that your brain is going, yes, this is helping, yes, this is helping. And so
Right.
subconsciously you're learning that addiction.
Yeah.
But you can change that. Like, you
Mm,
can subconsciously and consciously change the way that you view your addiction. So
yes. Oh, I love that. Yes. Yes. A billion times that truth that it's possible to change is possible. Right. Has been my case too. Not exactly with substance. Yeah, to other things that I wrote my book about it. But yes, and one of the main things for me was love. So it seems to me like this is a fundamental truth, isn't it, Ben? That when we are not loved as a child, then we look for love everywhere, basically. And that's such a trap,
mhm,
looking especially in places that won't love us back.
right.
Uh, so it's really sad, to kind of acknowledge that, and humbling too, to know that most of us have not received the love that we needed to be healthy human beings. It has been my case too. Gosh, and I love the way you talk about Kav. You describe it as a compassionate, kind drink. So this is the title of this episode, if you agree, the Compassion of Kava, a drink that wants the best for you.
Mm.
You okay with that with that
I think
title?
I think that's a very fitting title, because I think of the first time I had kava. I was living in that sober living house. I was in this emotional upwelling where I was triggered. I was thinking about going and drinking to change the way that I felt, and
Yeah.
I went in downtown Colorado Springs, and there was a kava bar there, and to the left there was a gin bar
Mm,
on one
right.
side, and on the right side it was a literal fork in the road.
Wow.
On the right side
Mm,
was this kava bar, and I walked into that kava bar wanting to drink, and I sat down and I drank some kava, and I had a great conversation with the person working at the bar, with the
yeah.
other people. I felt immediate connection around me. It
Yeah.
wasn't like another bar where, like, everybody sits down and looks at their phone. Like, everybody was talking to each other. And
Yeah.
then I went home 2 hours later, and I'm laying in bed, and I'm like, wow, I don't want to drink right now.
Mm,
It
mm,
was a very foreign,
yeah.
strange feeling of being satisfied without alcohol, but I wasn't messed up. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't like high on kava. I
Yeah.
was just relaxed and had
Mm,
had a positive experience with other people.
yeah.
And it is very compassionate. That's why we named our company Karuna Kava Bar. Right? Karuna is the
Uh,
Sanskrit word for compassion. It's
mm,
what I've found in the beverage, but more importantly, it's in what I've found from the connections with other people that I make when I'm drinking kava. Like, kava is really just a conduit to human connection, whether that's connecting with your true authentic self or making friends out in the community.
yeah.
Something about it opens you up to other people in a really healthy way.
Yes. Yeah. That's key, right? Healthy way.
Mm.
Um, how? I mean, I love everything about it. I just have not, my husband and I tried, and he tried a lot more. He was a lot more excited about it. And he tried almost every day for about 5 days, and he felt immediately the effects of it. He felt more relaxed. He said it was very different than drinking alcohol, which he does, wine once in a while. So he felt much, much better. That's interesting to see. And I could see also in him, his face, the way he talked. So I think he's not drinking it now for some reason because he's doing something else. Yeah, he's always trying something different. So he doesn't want to mix the two things. That's one of my questions. Can kava be mixed with other substance like psilocybin, microdosing on psilocybin, or medications?
Yeah, I mean, I usually try to make sure people know that, kava is it's a powerful substance. So
Yeah.
when it comes to mixing it with other stuff, I
Mm,
generally tell people, if you're gonna have kava, drink kava.
yeah.
Don't mix it with something you're unsure of. And we tell people, like, if you're on medications, this is a question for a doctor,
Mm,
because doctors much more understand the complex interplay between medications, which I'm not an expert on, and
right.
kava. Now, I do know that a lot of people drink kava and they're on antidepressants, or they're on blood pressure medication, or whatever. And from what I've heard, kava, it doesn't negatively interact with a lot of medications, but kava is metabolized by your liver. And so, as your liver is metabolizing kava, it's using enzymes that are in your liver, and it takes time for those enzymes to regenerate. And
Right.
so, I always tell people, like, my golden rule is I don't mix kava with anything that you wouldn't mix alcohol with, right? So, like at the
Mhm.
doctor,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
including alcohol, like, don't drink kava and booze at the same time. Alcohol is metabolized from ethanol to acetaldehyde to acetic acid.
Uh,
This process, if you can't metabolize the acetaldehyde out of your body quickly and without any interruption, it's
yeah.
very toxic. And
Mm,
this is happening every time you drink alcohol, regardless. But when
yeah.
you're drinking kava as well, you're just not going to have the same capacity in your liver to metabolize the alcohol as efficiently. Same with like Tylenol. I mean, I don't take Tylenol at all unless I'm like actually really hurt.
Right.
But Tylenol is very hard on the liver, and it's going to be using some of those enzymes.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I've also known that people can have like a stronger reaction to kava if they're on something like Xanax. But I also know a lot of people, and just talking as a member of the kava community, that have used kava in conjunction with medicinal mushrooms, or with cannabis, and there doesn't seem to be any negative interaction with those substances. But
Yeah.
again, want to clarify, depending on where you live, those may or may not be illegal. So
Right.
definitely, like, if you don't, try not to break the law. But
Yes.
I've found drinking kava on its own is a really positive experience for me.
Yeah.
But if you're on a medication and you're unsure, definitely talk to your doctor before trying kava or any other supplement for that matter, because believe it or not, grapefruit
Mm,
has the
mm,
same impact on your liver that kava does. So like, if
right.
you're taking a lot of medications and you're eating a lot of grapefruit, it could be changing the way that those medications are absorbed and metabolized. So the human body is complex,
Mm,
but when in doubt, bring it by a professional.
yes. Thank you for the clarification. Yes, that makes a lot of sense to me. And also listening to our bodies, right? That's important. Education, knowledge, and then listening. Yes. I was laughing a little bit about the story when you talk about the first time you tried as kava concentrate, and then you had some piece of pineapple. They asked you to just swallow as quick as possible. So one of the things for me was the taste. Why does it taste so bitter?
Yeah.
And yeah, there's something there. It then numbs everything.
Yep. So drinking kava, so kava, the word kava is actually the Tongan word for bitter.
Right, I read that. Yeah.
If you'll notice, a lot of medicinal plants that are bitter have a lot
Mm,
of benefits
right.
for your body. Now, if you're just getting into kava and you're just starting to drink it, it definitely tastes way weirder than it does as
Yeah.
you've had it a few times, because
Yeah.
just like with alcohol, the first time I drank alcohol, I was like horrified at how
Yeah.
terrible it was, and I
Mm,
didn't understand it.
right.
But when I made the connection with my body, with how it
Mm,
made me feel, even though it was kind of
mm,
tricking me into thinking I was enjoying it,
right. Right.
it's a similar mechanism with kava. Once your body and your mind and your spirit have a chance to connect with the benefits that it's giving you, it tastes a lot lighter and a lot more like just a very earthy tea.
Mm,
But the reason that it makes your mouth numb and tingly is because one of those cavalactones causes that tingling sensation on epithelial tissues. So the inside of your mouth, your throat, they can go kind of numb and tingly.
yeah.
And really what that's indicating is that it's high quality kava, that it's got
Mm,
the compounds in there that
mm,
you're going to benefit from.
yes.
So
Yes.
you also start to notice that less and less the more you drink it, because it just becomes kind of normalized.
Yes, and my husband said that. Yeah. Oh, I don't. It's okay now. I don't feel as it's just the taste is good. That's what he said after.
Yeah.
Um, so another question I have for you is about like the impact of kava in your life. Um, it didn't happen to other people who chose to continue to drink alcohol, and then and you mentioned one of your friends. His name is Jasper, I believe. Yeah. So, talk to me for a moment about that. Why do some people choose life affirming, life giving ways of interacting with themselves and, in what we eat and put in our mouth, in our bodies, and other people don't? Why does it happen?
That's a really good question. And I think we could probably have a whole podcast
Talk
about
on
just
that.
that question, right? And it's a
Yeah.
question I've asked myself
Mm,
many times,
yeah.
is why did I make it out of that very difficult situation when people like my good friend Jasper
Yeah.
um, lost their life to the fight against addiction?
Right. Right.
And I think we all know someone
Yeah.
who knows someone, or know someone directly that has struggled with addiction and lost their life to that
Yeah.
struggle.
Yeah.
It's all too common in our society now.
Right.
The thing I look out for myself as to what actually finally kicked in and helped me to live in a better way was I I feel like I had a psychic change around my use of alcohol.
Yeah.
I fundamentally stopped enjoying it. The
Uh,
last time I drank alcohol, I got extremely sick. It truly was a poison for me.
right. Right.
And also I had a child, like not me personally, but
Oh,
I was involved.
yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
seeing that little innocent baby there and
Mm,
feeling that immense responsibility,
uh,
well, maybe I wasn't ready for it at the time. It was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it changed the way I looked at the whole world. And sometimes, and I don't want this to sound bad for people that are struggling with addiction, but it is a disease of self-centeredness.
mm,
And
mm,
that's not a judgment. That's
mm,
not like, hey, you're a bad person. It's, you
right.
actually can't stop thinking about the way that you feel. You can't come into a space of mindfulness because you're all wrapped up in
Mm,
here about everything that's happening to you, and or
mm,
why did this person do this to me, and why did that person make me feel this way. It's a
right.
constant cycle of chaos in
Mm,
your own brain. It's very hard to escape.
right.
And so I think another thing that really helped me is,
Yeah.
beyond being a beautiful tradition and a wonderful uh, tool of connection, kava actually physically makes you feel a certain way. It has a physical effect that
Right.
is enjoyable.
Right.
It's not physically addictive. There's not a withdrawal from kava. Like I do it all the time, where I
Yeah.
drink kava for a period of time, take a few days off.
Yeah.
I'm not bound to it physically, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
But also in those moments where I
Mm,
was like, you know what, I'm really not feeling great today. I maybe something came up. Maybe I got into a disagreement with a friend, or maybe the traffic was bad. It
yeah.
didn't take much to get me drinking back in the day.
Right.
And
Right.
in those moments, I could go, I'm not going to do that. I know what happens when I do that. I don't even like it. I'm going to drink some kava. And I come to the kava bar that we've got here in Boise, and I'll have a kava with a friend, and I'll go, oh yeah, that was silly. Like,
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't do that. But
Right.
not everybody has that. Not everybody even knows that that's a thing.
Yeah.
And so that was the thing that blew my mind, was just how many people didn't
Mm,
understand the concept of a non-alcoholic social beverage. They go, what? Why,
yeah.
why would you do that? And
Yeah.
it's because it's a harm reduction tool.
Right.
Like, kava has in many ways quite literally saved my life, because I know of times when I would have gone back. It's so easy.
Yeah.
It's in the grocery stores, it's on
Everywhere.
TV, movies. Everybody, if you were an alien civilization, you would think alcohol was water. It's
Wow.
so ingrained into our society.
Yeah.
But there is another way, and part of that has to be that psychic change, where you start to really subconsciously understand that this thing that you're doing that is hurting you so bad, you don't actually like it.
Mm, right. Doesn't like you, and you don't like it.
Right.
Wow. Wow. You said so much there. One of the things that really caught my attention is that self-centeredness. Yeah, the focus on the me, in how I'm feeling, how it's almost like, and in trying to escape from that feeling too. It seems like there's trying to escape, run from it, which doesn't help. Um, so another question that comes to mind is kava. I didn't know anything about it. I never heard about this drink. So is that something that just came to the United States, or it has been here? We just didn't know for some reason.
I mean, people have been drinking kava in the South Pacific Islands for 3,000 years. It's,
Right.
if you want to get kind of nerdy with it,
Yeah.
technically kava may be one of the very first agricultural products that underwent uh, human people started interbreeding kava and looking for genetic specificities.
Mm,
I think you know what I'm saying. They were breeding this kava as an agricultural endeavor
yeah.
before they were doing this with wheat, with maize, with
Mm,
corn, with
wow.
potatoes.
Yeah.
It was kind of a scientific revolution that happened there in Vanuatu, where it was first being bioengineered, if you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
But in the United States, kava was around really as a supplement for a very long time. People
Mm,
are making
mm,
extracts. You can find old kava kava capsule bottles from the 1950s that are kind of like collectibles within the community.
yeah.
But there was an event that happened in Europe from the late 90s through like 2002, where a bad pharmaceutical drug called Laytan
Yeah.
that was developed by Schwab Pharmaceutical poisoned people, because
Wow.
they took the roots of the kava plant, but most likely also the stems and the leaves, which contain impurities, and they ran acetone through all of this root and plant material, and they came up with Laytan. It was the pharmaceutical response to kava,
Right.
and they sold this to alcoholics without really clear directions on how to use it, and people had a liver damage issue. Like,
Yeah.
I believe it was 28 individuals suffered from that medication, and
Wow.
uh, the pharmaceutical industry said, well, we didn't know kava was toxic to the liver. And it's
Uh,
like, well, kava is not toxic to the liver when you drink it in its traditional form.
right.
When you run acetone through it and scrape up what's left of the residuals,
Mhm.
the, you've created something that has the potential to hurt people. And here's another good example that I like to use to help people visualize this:
Yeah.
is if I eat an apple, I'm having a delicious, tasty treat.
Yeah.
But if I take 100 pounds of the seeds of the apple and
Mm,
I run acetone through them and
mm,
scrape up what's left up after that acetone gases off,
yeah.
I've just created cyanide. And so how you use a plant
Mm,
can totally change the outcome of the plant's
mm,
use. Like, I
right.
would never give my children cyanide. that's
Right.
the worst nightmare in my life is to know that my children could have ingested something harmful. I give
Right.
them apples every single day, almost like they beg me for them.
Yeah.
They're a tasty treat.
Yeah.
So, in
Mm.
terms of why kava isn't as popular now, a large part of it is because the industry is still coming out of this time when people
Mm.
were very concerned about kava products. But again, kava as a beverage, as a tea that you can drink and enjoy,
I want
has
to.
never been shown to be hepatotoxic. It's just the sketchy extracts and concentrates that people suffered from. And even then, it was a pretty paltry amount of people. Those 28 people, it was a very big deal. But there's over 100,000 people are going to die as a direct result of alcohol use
Like,
in this country this year.
right.
And in over 20 years, there hasn't been a single hepatotoxic event in that had traditional kava involved. So
Right.
when you look at the numbers, kava is clearly a lot safer. I feel like I can safely say that.
Yes, yeah, and I absolutely agree, and that's why I tried to. Of course, I did some research before, and I had no problem, and I will go back to it. I really thank you again for sending me some samples. I still have them, and I just thought of you as you speak. I was like, oh, I gotta try some today. Maybe I'll try the strawberry one. I love the flavors too. You know, they're so playful in some way. I want to show the screenshots that I have here. I mean, just when I look, the pouches and the flavors, you want to try it anyway because it's almost like calls you. So you have apple. They're usually mixed. So apple, mint, ginger, pineapple, strawberries, coconut, cinnamon, jasmine, watermelon, you name it. I mean, what was the inspiration for all these flavors? It came to you that way, just to to have them all, or was it one at a time? What was the evolution of the flavors of kava, of Karuna kava?
That's a fun question, actually. So I have I've cooked since I was a young boy. I can remember my mom breaking out a stepladder so I could
Yeah.
scramble eggs with her as
Yes.
a little boy. And I've always loved cooking, and I worked in restaurants forever before I opened my own business.
Yeah.
And when people when I hear people come into our bar that have had kava before,
Yeah.
uniformly, one of the things they say is, "Oh, it tastes like dirt. Oh, it tastes terrible. Oh, it tastes nasty."
Yes.
And really, if you tried coffee for the first time on its own, you'd probably say, "This tastes terrible." But
Right.
again, it's
Right.
because it's not as ingrained in our culture. It's
Yes.
just a very earthy tea. So I knew that I didn't want people to miss out on the benefits of kava because they took one sip of it and oh, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think we launched 3 flavors in the beginning. There was a lavender flavor, a coconut, and then a cacao.
Oh.
And the cacao one is actually coming back soon.
Oh.
But we started the business at farmers markets where we were just doing very small batches of product and making it fresh every week and bringing it down to the farmers market, setting up our tent and kind of sharing it with the community that way. Because,
Yeah.
and this is a good message for anybody out there who's thinking about starting an entrepreneurial pursuit, like you have to start where you're at. And
Right.
sometimes you're not just going to have some big investor come throw you $1 million. You've got to start. You got to get out there and try and get
True.
your idea out there. And
Right.
so that's what we did at the farmers markets. But also, it gave us this great opportunity where week after week after week, we got to try different flavors in these small batch brews. And so also, I'm just I like making things. I made all the labels. I've had some help here and there with graphic designers kind of
Nice.
sizing things and stuff, but I love creating new products
Mm.
and sharing kava with people in different ways. And because different kavas from different parts of the world or different styles of kava,
Yeah.
they have slightly different flavors. They just need to be nudged in the right direction, and then they can be made a lot more palatable, a lot more accessible, and potentially a lot more beneficial for people if they can actually enjoy the physical act of drinking it. Now,
Yes.
I'd bring the pouches home with me. These are great.
Yeah.
Like I love the pineapple
Yeah.
ginger, the watermelon,
Uh-huh.
the strawberry one, like you
Uh-huh.
mentioned,
Yeah.
also super great. But
Uh-huh.
here at the Kava bar, I just drink it kava and water with a little bit of pineapple because
Wow.
I've grown to appreciate kava for what it is.
Mm,
So when we were making all the flavors,
yeah.
we were trying to meet the American market halfway. It's still
Wow.
kava. It still kind of tastes like kava, but
Yeah.
it's just slightly less abrasive, slightly less earthy.
Yeah.
And some of them are pretty tasty, especially the fresh green Hawaiian kava varieties, because those are made with kava that gets shipped to us frozen, freshly harvested, has a
Wow.
much lighter flavor. But also, yeah, I think it really went back to just having all that experience making them at the markets and experimenting and trying out what we like, and also that joy of creating.
Yes, right. Gosh, what can I say? That's exactly what I thought when I look at the pouches, like how they look very cheerful and inviting. So and warm, of course, too. That's another feeling I got from them. So the creativity behind it that caught my attention a lot because I love creativity. And I think that has a lot to do with the probably the part of us that wants to express itself, right? It's almost like childlike. That's what it comes for me. So I want to mention the benefits of kava. On the website, you have it there. It says drinking kava can enhance your well-being, promoting relaxation, improving sleep, easing tension, and offering a natural, non-alcoholic way to unwind. Um, are there any other benefits that you personally aware of or have been reported?
Yeah, so there's I have a file actually I can send you if you want. It's
Um,
hundreds and hundreds of scientific articles about the effects of kava.
yeah.
Now, kava is one of the only anxiolytics, stress relieving compounds that doesn't create a cycle of physical addiction because there's no withdrawal
Mhm.
from kava. So that's a very unique
Right.
quality to it, right? So
Mhm.
sometimes people go in for a little help with a stressful time and they walk out of a doctor's office with a lifelong addiction to a
Mhm.
pharmaceutical drug. And
Yes.
it's because when you stop taking those drugs, you start to feel all that anxiety come back full fold. Whereas with kava, you stop drinking and you feel just fine.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mm.
one thing that I've really been enjoying lately,
Yeah.
because we have our son is 2 months old,
Oh,
and as babies do, he cries at night, but
yeah.
drinking kava helps you achieve deep REM sleep, which is very restful sleep, but also where your dreams happen. And
Right.
I've really noticed
Uh,
lately that my dreams are so vivid and enjoyable, and I almost have more ability to control them. They're more lucid. But
yeah.
also, I wake up feeling pretty rested when I don't sleep for very long because I'm getting right into that deep REM sleep.
Right.
So that's another fun benefit. They've done some cognitive uh, study around kava. Kava has been shown to improve recall, memory. It might even help fight dementia and Alzheimer's by some of the compounds in kava act as a protectant for the myelin
Yeah.
sheath.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Kava is also an anti-inflammatory. I've
Right.
heard it described as the aspirin of the South Pacific.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So I've had some injuries here and there from snowboarding or skateboarding or any of the other dumb things
Yeah.
that I do to get hurt, and so just the other day I tripped over a scooter at the house, one of the kids' scooter, banged my knee on something, and
Uh,
it helped with the swelling. It helped with the pain. Technically, the FDA never wants you to describe anything as a pain reliever unless you've got their approval. But there's 3,000 years of history to kind of back up the idea that
right.
kava can help with certain pain. And we had one of my
Right.
really good friends, Brett, really amazing guy. He was suffering from a gastrointestinal cancer for years, from the whole time I knew him. And one of the reasons he drank kava was because he found that it really helped his pain that he had inside of him as a result of those terrible tumors and cancers.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's why he really loved it in the beginning. And then we got into the social aspect and became great friends.
Yeah.
And I've seen people quit smoking cigarettes using kava,
Mm.
because one of the reasons that you go back to an addiction is because you're feeling stress. And so if you get a little relief from stress, it can help you avoid
Mm.
that relapse event.
Right.
It's really, I'm learning more and more about kava all the time. And I think there's a lot of science and study to be done on kava. If
Yeah.
you want to look into like a lot of really great kava related factoids and research articles, there's
Yeah.
an awesome website called kavaforums.com.
Yeah. I'm writing down.
And the guy that runs that site is Jimmy Price. He is a genius when it comes to kava, and he does it all out of the love of his heart.
Mm. Yeah.
And he's amassed this massive wealth of research in this one space. And so
Ah.
I find that kava tends to give you what you need. And I know that sounds
Mm.
very cliche, but
Mm. Mhm.
I've watched a lot of people come in with different
Yeah.
issues, and when
Yeah.
they drink kava, they seem to find freedom.
Yeah. I love that too. It gives what you need. And then depending on your relationship with it, then it expands, right, to something, to, who knows, maybe creativity. I love the idea of expansion too. There's something about plants that they makes us even think differently. There's something about that. It's magical. Another question that came to me is, can anyone drink kava? Like, do you have a specific age range? 18, below 18? Yeah, that's another
Yeah.
question.
So here at our bar, you have to be 18 or older to drink
Oh,
kava.
right,
There isn't an actual law stating that you need to be 18 or older to drink kava. It's just that, to be honest, I don't want to be introducing anybody else's children to any kind of stuff. Like, I wouldn't really be
right,
comfortable selling a coffee to a kid that was
mm,
14 unless their parents had approved of it.
right,
Because
right.
parents are in that position of protecting their children, and perhaps they have
Yeah,
different values in their household where maybe they wouldn't want to you want them to drink kava. So that's not
right,
my decision to make for somebody else's children. Now,
right.
we have had people come in with their teenagers
Yes.
that have, there's an epidemic in this society
Mm,
of
ah,
teenagers dealing with crippling anxiety,
oh,
depression,
yeah. Right,
uh,
right.
bullying, all of this terrible
Oh
stuff.
my God.
And most of it comes from, you
Yeah.
know, these guys right here.
Oh, yes.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Apple, but um,
Yeah.
it, when asked permission, and if they're with a parent, they can try kava.
Right. Okay.
But there's really not a reason for anybody under the age of 18 not to have kava. We do
Right.
tell people that are pregnant
Mm,
that, there's not enough research for me to comfortably say this is completely safe for you to have when you're pregnant. But
yeah.
I also, as a father and a husband, I take extra
Yeah.
care to make sure people have informed consent about what they put in their body when they're creating life.
Right.
And I usually tell people to refer with their birthing team or
Yeah.
with their doctor again. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Ben, for also clarifying that. Yeah, I also don't see any reason not to, but you're right. It's a good idea to be more kind of mindful and know the reasons why, the purpose, what's the why for drinking, for doing anything, eating anything too. So it's not just kava, anything.
Mhm.
So it's not addictive. That's really amazing to know. And is that something that would be in a drug test like the DUI, driving under the influence? Is that something that they would, if you drink too much kava, would that be detected, and or not really?
That's a good question. And I think this, because kava is rapidly gaining popularity, I'm sure
Yeah.
depending on what part of the world or part of the United States you're in, I'm sure there is a way to detect kava within your system.
Yeah.
I tell people, while kava isn't inebriating in the same way that alcohol is, if you drink a lot of it, it can have a really powerful effect on you. And you
Uh,
should not drive a vehicle. You
right.
should wait and see how it affects you. Don't just go driving around on the streets and drinking something you've never tried before. But
Mm,
that being
yeah.
said, drinking, a small to fair amount of kava, it's not going to negatively impact your motor functions the same way that alcohol is. And
Right.
so, I mean, if I were to get pulled over and I had two kavas, I would probably go about the stop as normal. And if the cop asked me if I'd had anything to drink that day, I would say no, because I don't drink alcohol. And
Right.
and
Right.
so now I probably wouldn't say, yeah, I've
Uh,
been drinking kava all day. Like then he's gonna go, wait, what's kava? And I think there is a precedent for someone getting a DUI because they had drank a lot
oh,
of kava.
wow.
Especially because like in certain communities you drink a lot of kava over a very
Yeah.
long period of time, and you shouldn't drink in those circumstances, or shouldn't drive in those circumstances,
Right. Right.
because it is powerful. So, but yeah, if you're feeling very relaxed, if you're
Yeah.
feeling altered by drinking a lot of kava, don't drive a car. That feeling usually wears off after about an hour anyways, so have
Mm,
some water, have a snack, and just make sure you're making responsible decisions about being out on the road.
yes. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. Thank you for the suggestions. Right. That resonates with me. I know there are different kinds of kava. I read about green kava being one of the most potent ones. Is that true? You're
Yeah.
the perfect person to ask.
So when people talk about green kava, they're
Yeah.
talking about kava that hasn't gone through the drying and pounding process.
Yeah.
Because of where kava comes from, I mean, Vanuatu is really distant, and that's where a large majority of the world's kava comes from, is
Uh,
the Vanuatuan
yeah.
Islands.
Yeah. Mm,
Getting something wet and perishable from there to here without it spoiling is quite
mm,
an endeavor.
yeah.
And so usually to safely package it and ship it and sell it, because just like all other agricultural products, you don't want it to have bacteria, E. coli. You don't want it to have any of the icky contamination that just exists all around us all the time.
Right.
And so they dry it and they pound it in a dry form. It's a lot more stable.
Yeah.
And we use a lot of dry kava here, but actually all three of these varieties that I have here with me, the
Yeah.
pineapple, the watermelon, and the strawberry, those were all made with kava that we get from um, a farm in Hawaii, in Molokai.
Mm,
Really fantastic people there at Puahoku Kava
yeah.
Ranch, and they're able to send it to us frozen in a cooler.
Wow.
It's always fun, like waiting for the cooler of kava
I
to
can
arrive.
imagine.
It's like
Yes.
childlike excitement.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, just like apple pie, I feel like everything's better when it's fresh. And
Mm,
so,
yeah.
a lot
Right.
of people prefer the fresh green kava, as we call it, or fresh green Hawaiian kava,
Yeah.
because it's got a lighter flavor. It's going to be more cucumbery. A lot of it reminds me of when you get close to the rind of the watermelon, where it's just kind of refreshing and vegetal, but not super earthy and bitter. Uh,
Right.
and it does tend to be pretty potent when it's
Uh,
in the fresh green form as well. But
mm,
there's absolutely nothing wrong with dried powdered kava. You just want to make sure you're using a reputable supplier if you're going to try and make it at home,
right.
because
Yes.
I'm convinced that some of the issues people have with kava, it's not the kava itself, it's actually what's in the kava.
Uh,
Like it might make them
yeah.
nauseous, and maybe it's just not a high quality kava.
Right.
Yeah.
That's with everything else too, right? All the foods we buy, the herbs that we buy. Even I used to have matcha, and I remember I was choosing like the best on the market, and even then was not feeling well, so I just stopped altogether. Uh, Another question that I had was about making tea out of kava. And also I heard too that's not a good idea because it destroys some of the compounds. How do you feel about that? Or what do you know about the making tea out of
Yeah.
kava?
I think so. The American mindset is always looking for an easier, faster way more
Mm,
convenient way to do something. And I have
yeah.
seen some tea bags on the market that you can steep into tea, and I would argue that those are maybe interesting ways to have kava very quickly, but
Mm,
that's not traditional kava. So those are usually going to be made with an extract, or
yeah.
perhaps even like a micronized or an instant kava,
Yeah.
and then you're going to be able to steep some of those out. They used to think that kava lactones were very sensitive to heat. Now they know that kava lactones are actually quite a bit more robust,
Mm,
up to a certain temperature. So
yeah.
I would say if you want to make kava at home, you have to use like the way we make it is the best way. You don't have to do this, but
Yeah.
using a strainer bag, we use like an 80 nanometer strainer bag,
Yeah.
gloved hands that have been washed and are nice and clean, really high quality filtered water, and
Yeah.
then you pour that kava powder into that bag, you tie it up, you mix it down in that water, and we call it kneading the bag. You like
Right.
massage it and squeeze it. So in terms of and it's sort of like when, like, if you get a hot pocket at the grocery store and you pop it in the microwave,
Yeah.
that's not the same experience as like hand making dough for a pizza and
Mm,
like taking it
yeah.
step by step and really making something that is enjoyable. Or even like bread. Like I started making bread at home, and I'm like,
Oh,
oh my gosh, bread has tasted this good this for forever. Like, why doesn't it taste like this from the grocery store?
yeah. Mm,
And
yeah.
when you have kava in the authentic way,
Mm,
the way people have been making it for thousands of years, which I've always thought, if a culture has been doing something for 3,000
right.
years, maybe they know what they're doing. Maybe
Right.
I don't need to change that too much. Maybe I can learn from that
Mm,
culture
mm,
and not try to twist it so much. But the the
yes.
tea bags I would steer people away from.
Yes. Thank you. I'm a tea lover. That's why I asked. So thank you for telling me that. So I'm right back to your beautiful pouches. Yes, I love what you just said. If something has been used, has been proven by ancient cultures, then there's something about that. We don't need more science than that. That's like a, I mean, that's an obvious confirmation that that's how it's supposed to use, or the wisdom. It's so clear, and I could talk forever about that too. The indigenous cultures, and then in their wisdom. Gosh, it's just timeless in my mind, in my being. So I want to mention your website again, karunakava.com. It will be clickable on the podcast notes. And gosh, Ben, I could talk with you forever, especially when it comes to my love for wisdom and the ancient traditions. So thank you for your partnership with that aspect of life, because it has been forgotten, and then we need to remember that for the sake of our own well-being and the well-being of the earth. So thank you so much, yeah, for the reminder. We do need that.
Yeah.
And God, so before we say goodbye, I wanted to ask you a final question. But before that, is there anything that you left unsaid? Anything that's a calling to be here?
Yeah, I feel like I just want to say that, you know, I didn't grow up with the culture of kava. Kava was shared with me. I
Yeah.
didn't discover this beautiful tradition.
Mm,
I didn't pioneer it. People have taken their time to teach me a lot, and I just
yeah.
want to say thank you to all my friends in the
Mm,
islands and to our friends that grow
yeah.
all this amazing kava. Just thank you for allowing an outsider to come in and learn about this tradition and benefit from it and help other people benefit from it. So just thank you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, thank you for doing what you're doing. The spreading the word. That's what we need too. So we cannot keep wisdom in one place and be the. It's almost like claiming ownership of wisdom. That's not. It doesn't serve anybody. We want it to spread as much as we can. Share that wisdom. So that's what they are doing, and that's what they are here to do. That's what we are here all here to do. So. Before we say goodbye, I want to ask you this ending question. What three things you wish everyone to have, to feel, to do before they lose the body, before they die?
Mm.
besides, I even put it here, besides drink lots of Karuna Kava. I thought it was one of the things that you'd say anyway.
Yeah, that's a great question. And that one really makes you think too. I mean, caveat, definitely drink kava, whether it's
Yes.
Karuna Kava or another reputable company, just give
Yeah.
it a try. But I
Yeah.
think one thing that everyone should do before they die, one is to experience true love. And I feel
Hmm.
so grateful to have my beautiful wife Kayleigh and our three wonderful kids, and to be able to
Yeah.
have my heart opened for me from the inside out,
Mm. Yeah.
to the experience of my family.
Yeah.
Two, I
Mm.
think everybody should eat a truly fantastic meal at least once in their life. I
Yeah.
feel like we put so much emphasis on fast, quick, easy, convenient, but
Yeah.
taking the time to make a meal for people you love, that is a truly wondrous
Mm.
experience. And I
Mm.
would say the third thing that I think everybody should try to do at least once is sit on the edge of the ocean and
Mm.
let the waves lap at your toes, and really say to that expansive body of water that whatever is inside you that hurts, I give it away to the vastness of everything that is much bigger than me. Because
Mm.
really, the
Yeah.
conceptualizing my own smallness and my own, in many
Mm.
ways, unimportance is what has allowed me to grow and be free. And part of that is realizing that the world does not revolve around any one of us.
Mm. Yeah. Gosh, what's not to love about that? Wow, is that your form of spirituality? If I can ask that question, this connection to nature. And
Yeah, I think it's a big part of it. When I was first getting sober in Colorado, I would go up into the mountains and I would go on these long walks by myself, and
yeah,
something about being a part of an environment that's so
mm,
dynamic and you're just a little speck in it. It
yeah,
has really helped me. I mean, I've found a lot of
yeah,
peace and fulfillment in the teachings of the Buddha.
mm,
Uh,
yeah,
I find a lot of peace and love that I found from the teachings of Jesus Christ. I
yeah,
think there's aspects to um, the tradition of Islam that is beautiful. So
mm,
I try
yeah,
not to be too walled off in what I allow to benefit my
mm,
spiritual life. I want to take all that I can.
Gosh, I love that too. That openness, yeah, to it's what is coming from a place of love, really, and sacredness, isn't it? So yeah, I'm very open to all of that too. Whatever brings God to earth, per se, in that way, I'm open to it. I'm all in. So thank you so much again for your beautiful presence here on earth, and through the work that you're doing, and for being the beautiful father that you are. I saw the pictures. I think they had the picture that will be here on the banner. It's the three kids all around you. I mean, the most, that's just precious. So thank you so much for being this beautiful human being that is not just helped himself, but it's helping others in so many different ways. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Thank you.